Hey, welcome to my vlog and review of round 2 of the 2017 MotoGP season. This stop, Argentina, Tourmaster Rio Hondo Circuit down in South America. We were probably all wondering whether the excitement of round 1 was going to continue, and in my opinion, it certainly did. It was a pretty eventful, a pretty surprising, and certainly an exciting weekend and race day. The weather over the weekend wasn't too bad, it wasn't too good. It was kind of overcast, kind of cloudy, but it didn't really rain until around qualifying time on the Saturday. Didn't really seem to affect too much, except for Vinales. He was fast all weekend. Heck, he's been fast all season. But when it came to qualifying, that little bit of water, he was back down at the bottom of the second row in sixth. Again, maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing, maybe it had something to do with other things. But certainly a question looking at the championship going along. Argentina, of course, is, some people say, the anniversary of the rift between Marquez and Rossi. I don't know whether that's true. I kind of, for me, the rift between Marquez and Rossi happened the moment you put two uber competitive guys in competition with each other. But, tomato, tomato. Argentina is also last year the track where Iannone wiped out Dovizioso on the second last corner of the last lap. Dovizioso hopefully wanted to have a better outcome. Here's a hint, he didn't. So let's take a quick look at who finished and who didn't. I'm not sure which list is going to be shorter at this point. P1 Vinales. Another great weekend by Vinales. Another great showing. He looked strong. He looked dominant all weekend, with the exception, of course, of qualifying. Maybe the rain had something to do with that. Maybe the wet weather kind of slowed him up a little bit. And like I said before, maybe that's something to consider going down through the rest of the championship, whether he's going to have that, whether the wet weather is going to be an Achilles heel for him. He also had a crazy moment in free practice 1, coming out of the second last corner onto the straight. He kind of applied the throttle and the bike snapped out on him kind of violently. It looked initially like he hurt his wrist, but it didn't seem to be anything major because you never really saw anything after that. So luckily he was okay and put on a great race. P2, Rossi pulls another rabbit out of the hat. I don't know how he does it, but if he keeps this up, he might have to change his nickname from the Doctor to the Magician. Holy cow. He did not look good. Look, he's not looked good all year. If you are a Rossi fan, you have probably spent every day but 2 days of the 2017 season with that kind of like stomach in your throat kind of feeling. Luckily for you, those 2 days were both Sundays. And like Rossi said after the race, if you're only going to be fast on one day, it's best to be the Sunday. But I mean, he did not look good this weekend. I mean, it's normal for you to see Rossi in the free practices, down in 6th, 7th, 8th. That's not uncommon. But I mean, he was down in 12th, 16th. He was down in 18th at some point. Let's be honest, if you're a Rossi fan, you were watching free practice, you were genuinely worried. Again, he's a race guy, he's a race day guy, he shows up on race day. Historically, that's how he's done it, so it's not uncommon for him to not have a great free practice. But to be down the list as far as he was for almost the entire weekend was really, really worrying. The only good news I think that comes out of this weekend, if you're a Rossi fan, is that he had some time in the wet, in the rain. And what they found is the issues were also there in the rain, which leads them to believe that it's the setup on the bike that's the issue. And to be honest, he's second place in the championship. He's got Vinales ahead of him. He's only 14 points down on him. Marquez is almost a full race amount of points behind him. I think he's down 23 points from Rossi. For all intents and purposes, let's say Lorenzo really isn't in the championship hunt this year. So, if you're Rossi and you're looking long-term at the championship, so far, it's early, it's 2 races, but so far, it looks pretty good for him. He's got Vinales in front of him, who, yes, has been stable and strong. That being said, it is still his first year on the Yamaha, and with wet weather issues potentially playing into play, Rossi's got to be in a pretty positive mood. He's got to be pretty happy about where he is. I think he said at the end of the race that he had more points than he had this time last year. So if you're looking backwards at the 2017 season for Rossi, it doesn't really look good. But if you're looking forwards, it does seem like there could be much brighter days ahead, especially if he keeps up these magical Sunday performances like he has so far. And P3 Cal Crutchlow puts in a solid performance in the dry. He was strong all weekend. Another podium position. The Queen would be proud. Cal said that he had a sensor light coming on throughout the race, which stopped him from really pushing at 110%. But nonetheless, handled it well like a champ. He was never any lower than third throughout the entire race. He looked strong behind Marquez when Marquez was in the race. It looks good on him because, he does crash a bit because he's always trying to push. He's always trying to stay up there. He always has high expectations of himself and his performance. So I love seeing Cal up there. It's becoming a pretty consistent thing after last year, and I'm so excited to see it carry on into this year, seeing Crutchlow being competitive. It's great to have a Brit up there competing and getting on the podium. So yeah, awesome, excellent, love it. And another thing I loved about this, seeing this race with both Crutchlow and Rossi, was that you could really see the difference in the lines at this race between the Honda, the point and shoot style of the Honda, and that kind of smooth corner style of the Yamaha. There were a number of shots and a number of times throughout the race where it really looked like Crutchlow was going wide. And I don't think it was so much Crutchlow going wide as much as it was the difference in the lines. You could really see it. Some of the shots were really great, and Crutchlow was way out on the point, and Rossi was way tucked into the beginning. And as they would come around the corner, you could see, Rossi would stick a little more in. Crutchlow would kind of do the point and shoot, so he would go out more on a point, turn the bike, and come back. And as they would come back, there was a number of times where, it looked like it could have been a collision. And of course, they're professionals, so they understand the difference in racing lines, and they understand how to manage it. But I thought it was cool and a great example of the different racing lines that different bikes use. P4 Bautista had a great race, started 10th on the grid and fought his way all the way up to 4th for the end of the race. Had a great battle with Zarrco, and a great opportunity for him and the Pull and Bear team to bag some nice points, as well as the fact that I think that bike looks great. The black and white with the yellow paint job, I thought it looked super sharp going around the track, and had a great race and great results for him. P5 Zarrco, this guy is visually spectacular to watch. Maybe his style, some might say, isn't the best for winning races, but from a spectator's point of view, it is awesome to watch Zarrco. I think having him come up here into the MotoGP for the excitement level is going to add nothing but value. I mean, he was going around the outside of people. He was lighting that tire up on the corners. There was smoke pouring off of it. And anybody who passed him, he almost instantly went right back at them. It was awesome watching this guy. Again, like I said last time, Hervé Poncherel's probably licking his lips. Between him and Folger, who finished in 6th, right behind him, on that old 2016 Yamaha. Tech 3 really nailed it this year. It looks like they got P5 and P6 in this race, and the future looks bright for them. Iannone, of all the people that actually finished the race, I think Iannone had probably the worst race day. He started off with a little tiny flinch on the start, which ended up costing him a drive-through penalty later on, and then into the first corner was rammed and rear-ended by Lorenzo as Lorenzo wiped out. So Iannone didn't have a great race weekend. He did actually stay on and finish the race. Unfortunately, he didn't get any points because he finished in 16th place. But I like that he finished the race. It shows character. And I still have hopes that he's going to have a good season on that Suzuki going down the road. Dovizioso got taken out by Aleix Espargaro. It was a weird incident that involved kind of Petrucci and then Dovizioso and then Aleix Espargaro going into a corner. Petrucci seemed to be maybe having issues, and he kind of slowed down and, as Dovizioso said, went in a weird way. Dovizioso then sort of moved to the side to go on the outside of him because he was going too hot. And then it seems like Aleix Espargaro maybe got sucked into that, into Dovizioso's excess speed into the corner, ended up with a front end wash, taking out Dovizioso. One of my two favorite moments of this race is this picture right here. Aleix Espargaro, stand-up guy, sportsman, goes over. That's what you love to see. Good on you, Aleix. And hopefully we're going to be doing next time a little bit better. That Aprilia does look good. And as well for Dovizioso, who's probably a little bit sick of being taken out in Argentina. He got taken out last year by his teammate Iannone, this year by Aleix. And the reality is he looks pretty fast and competitive on that Ducati overall. So hopefully he's hoping for a better and interference-free race next race. Next, Lorenzo, who dumped it into the first corner. Not exactly sure what happened. He said after the race that Iannone was going a little bit slow and he was going a little bit hot, and that's what happened. But, when you kind of watch it on the overhead, it doesn't really look like Iannone slows up that much. Iannone's on the inside of the corner. He's got riders on the outside of the corner, which means he has to keep that apex tight. So I'm not sure what happened with Lorenzo. Maybe it was a gaff on the bike. It seemed like after the fact, when he was in the gravel pit, he was kind of, motioning to the bike, a little frustration maybe on his part with the troubles he's had with the Ducati. But I will say this, Lorenzo is extremely lucky that he did not end up with his head and hands in the rear of Dovizioso's bike. If you look at the replay, he kind of goes over and he hits the back of Iannone's bike. It kind of flips over and he goes into the rear end of Dovizioso's bike. I'm just so thankful that he didn't end up getting a hand into the tire or the brakes or lose a finger or something like that. So all things being equal, as much as Lorenzo is probably not happy that he crashed, I'd have to say he's really lucky. Things could have been a lot worse considering the traffic around him when he crashed. The other possibly good news for Lorenzo and the Ducati crew is that they may have figured something out. Apparently when he first got on the bike, he felt that the seat was too high and he lowered the seat. He asked them to lower the seat because that was what he was used to on the Yamaha. And so looking back now, they're sort of looking at it going, maybe that was a mistake, perhaps because when the seat is higher, it keeps the weight of the rider on the front end more. And so they're saying that he's going to improve his front end feel by putting that seat back up where it was. So hopefully that's going to be a step through for Lorenzo and Ducati, and maybe this is the start of his mastery of that bike. And of course, both Hondas went down. Both Marquez and Pedrosa went down. Same corner, different part of the race. Marquez was right out front and was really pushing hard. Maybe perhaps he thought he had to build up a big lead to get out in front of Vinales after not a spectacular showing in Qatar. Crutchlow said after the race that he was riding like an animal. Pedrosa went down in the same corner. I noticed it the corner before on lap 13. He was going in and I thought he was really getting loose. If you look at lap 13 going into the second corner, next corner crashed in that exact same spot. So Argentina is a bit of a bumpy track, but it's also possibly a symptom of the fact that those Hondas are still struggling with grip on acceleration and they're having to brake so hard. So possibly Honda's issues with grip kind of bit them in Argentina because they scored no points. And it's unusual to see both Hondas off the, not finishing. Last but not least, KTM, both Smith and Espagaro finishing in the points. Granted, there were a lot of crashes throughout the race, but you got to take it when you can get it. It always feels better to have something in the bank besides a big round goose egg. So that wraps up my review of round 2 of the 2017 MotoGP season. I'm going to end on this. My other favorite shot out of the weekend, captured on the GoPro on the Yamaha, is a magnificent shot of Rossi and Vinales, the two big winners of the weekend. Don't forget, the next race is less than 2 weeks away, April 23rd, Austin, Texas, Circuit of the Americas, a place where Marquez is notoriously good and strong. Is he going to put together a first win of the year? I don't know, but I can't wait to find out. Hit the like button, leave a comment, and let me know what you think.